Weather's kicking. Had to have a play. Who else? The Sun God. What a catch. But an even better celebration. Boing! The Lions weathered the storm in Lambeau, coming out victorious 24-14. They moved to 7-1 on the season and are in full control of the NFC. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. We're going to go through our game review. Lions get another victory in Lambeau, their third in a row. What a fantastic game. Before we go any farther, make sure to hit that like button if you dig the vibe here at Johnny Gaz Sports. I'd love it if you consider subscribing. We're just over 2,100 now, thanks to you guys. And if you hit the notify bell, you won't miss any future videos. There is a membership option available. I'm just coming off my live game play-by-play review. We do our tier list, a ton of other fun stuff, but there is always free stuff for you here all the time. Let's dive into this Week 9 victory in Lambeau. Extremely sloppy conditions in Green Bay for this Week 9 victory for the Lions. Rain coming down sideways, winds gusting anywhere from 15 to 40 miles per hour during this game. Lions are able to come out victorious 24-14 by maintaining their clean play. They were able to hold on to possession of the ball, get offensive plays when they needed it, and came up with a big defensive play to win the day. The Lions leaned on David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown early after giving up a long drive and field goal to the Green Bay Packers to open up the scoring. Lions were down 0-3 early. They respond with a long drive of their own, ending in that Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown catch. Tiptoe, another one for the Sun God, ends it with a pinpoint headstand to make this game 7-3 at that time. Lions then go up 10-3 off the leg of Jake Bates on a 27-yard field goal, which on today's elements was not an easy feat. During this time, the Lions also lost Brian Branch to an ejection. He was flagged for targeting. I've rewatched this play several times now, and I do believe that Brian Branch had opportunities to pull himself up on this. He's very aggressive. He went for it on this play, unfortunately did make helmet-to-helmet contact, and the call came down from New York. He was ejected from the game. The Lions were in a tough spot at that time. They then bring in Brandon Joseph, the backup safety, to fill his role. Lions come up with maybe the biggest play of this entire game. Kirby Joseph comes up with an interception, a pick six off Jordan Love, a really difficult play. Jordan Love has had a season-long history of turnovers and making a bad play at bad times, and it really reared its ugly head in this moment. End of the half, trying to drive to get something out of it, maybe some points at the end of the half, and makes the devastating play. Kirby Joseph comes up with the interception, puts it in the end zone. Lions end up going up 17-3 to end the half. To compile the problem at the end of the first half, the Lions take the ball, go on a long drive themselves. The Sonic to Sonic and Knuckles ends up being dynamic again. Jahmyr Gibbs on that 15-yard touchdown run, putting the Lions up 24-3 at that time, and the Lions really took control at that point. Green Bay is able to get a Brandon McManus field goal to make it 24-6. He also missed a field goal within the sequence. Scoring ended on an Emmanuel Wilson 2-yard run, making it 24-14. Lions are able to take possession of the football at the end of the game, get a couple first downs, and are able to kneel this one away. Again, the Lions win this football game 24-14. I think the biggest points coming out of this game is the Lions were able to withstand the weather and the conditions. There's been a history of people thinking the Lions cannot play outdoors, and Jared Goff just is not the quarterback when he's not in the dome. Well, they've completely now wiped that away. They seem to be knocking out these bad history type items one by one this season here in 2024. Well, they do it again there in Lambeau. Again, their third straight victory on the road in Green Bay. Very impressive for this Detroit Lions team. I thought, again, Jack Fox, the punter, was fantastic. When he had to come on, he was able to flip the field. His worst punt of the day was actually his last punt, but outside of that, again, he was truly fantastic. Jake Bates on the special teams was able to cap his field goal. So, again, the special teams doing the right things. The Lions were able to maintain clean play, their turnovers. Let's go through those team stats and look at that in some more detail. Now let's buzz through those team stats. And I think what's clear, especially over the last couple weeks, and now looking at the NFL in general, and when I do my NFL tier list and the NFL Mountain, The teams at the top of the mountain seem to find ways to win every single week. And obviously, in this type of game where the elements play such a huge factor, it's hard to necessarily lean on the raw stats and say, well, this is why and this is why. I mean, sometimes good teams just find ways to win. The Kansas City Chiefs prove that every single week as they remain undefeated, even without Patrick Mahomes having good performances each and every week. Well, the Lions over the last several weeks have just found every single way to win football games, and they had to do so again here today. So let's go through that. I mean, what you'll notice, again, is Green Bay really will lead the charge in most statistical categories. They led in first downs. Teams were relatively even as far as third and fourth down efficiency. Total plays, just a small edge to Green Bay. I thought they held onto the ball just a little bit longer. They had long, sustained drives, but the Lions were able to cap off more. They had certainly way more yards than the Lions had in general, 411 yards to the Lions, 261. Drives were relatively even. Yards per play on an edge to Green Bay, 6.6 to the Lions, 4.7. Green Bay had much more passing yards, 273 to 137 for the Lions, but obviously you see much more of an efficient day for Jared Goff, and again, we'll look at those individual statistics here in just a moment. Jared Goff was sacked. Here's a huge stat, I think, 0 for 0, no sacks on Jordan Love the entire game. I'll talk about that at the end, but again, the Lions showing they're just not able to get sustained pressure and get sacks now on the quarterback, just kind of showing a trend of that ever since Aiden Hutchinson has went out. Again, we'll talk about that in more detail. Green Bay actually had more rushing yards per attempt, which is pretty incredible. Red zone, again, 2 for 4 for the Lions, 1 for 4 for the Packers. Penalties, I think, is a big story here in this game. I thought the Packers were not as clean as the Lions were. Packers 10 penalties for 67 yards. Lions only 5 for 51. So I think, again, that tells a story. And then, again, in any weather game, something like this where things tend to slow down, it's not a shootout. You know, turnovers are going to be a huge part of this. Now, there weren't a flurry of turnovers, but the one turnover that did happened to be maybe the biggest play in this whole game with the Kirby Joseph pick six. And let's take a look at that box score, the individual stats. You got to start every game now with Jared Goff. The efficiency level is through the roof. 18 of 22 today for 145 yards, 1 TDs, did not turn over the ball, was only sacked the one time. Again, I thought he was efficient. He was confident. No, I didn't think he was darting the ball all over the place, but neither quarterback was, and not many could in those kind of conditions. But Jared Goff is on an historical pace this season, MVP form, proved it again today. Threw the dime to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and again was in full control of this football game. On the other side, Jordan Love, we know, playing hobbled. He had the groin injury. He finished 23 of 39, 273, and had the big interception. Rushing the football, again, a little more of a tough sledding day for both teams, but we're able to make some things happen in flashes. Let's start on the Lions side. David Montgomery had the 17 carries, 73 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 carries, 65 yards, had the touchdown score on the 15-yard run. On the Green Bay side of things, I thought Josh Jacobs was really good, and I think he ended up kind of hurting himself towards the end of the game, and then they had to go to the throwing scheme, obviously, to try and catch up here. But Josh Jacobs finished with 13 carries for 95 yards and was really big early on in this game, had the long of 37. Emmanuel Wilson had 4 carries for 28 yards, and he had the rushing touchdown for Green Bay. In the receiving category, Amon-Ra St. Brown led both teams in catches with 7, but only had the 56 yards, had the big touchdown in this game, 26-yard long. On the other side, Jaden Reed, I thought was really good. He only had the 5 receptions, but had 113 yards total. Working ourselves down for Green Bay and their weapons, Christian Watson had 3 receptions for 37. The tight end Tucker Kraft, 4 for 34. Romeo Doubs, 4 for 28. Josh Jacobs contributed 2 receptions for 13. Going back to the Lions, Sam Laporta, 2 receptions for 28. David Montgomery had 3 for 23. Khalif just the 1 catch. Tim Patrick had 2 catches for 12 yards. And Jahmyr Gibbs, the 1 catch. Allen Robinson got in the game. I think his first catch for the Lions, just the 1 catch for 2 yards, but it was for a first down. So it actually was big in this game. We've already talked the interception, the pick 6 to death. No fumbles for the Lions in this game. I thought Green Bay got a little sloppy. There were 2 drives in particular where they were able to actually move the ball down the field, put themselves in position, but then they started to fumble the football. They had 3 different fumbles. They recovered all 3 of them, thank goodness. So it didn't destroy them, but it killed those particular drives and really took them out of this game. Defensively, both linebackers for each team led the charge. Jack Campbell, 13 tackles for the Lions, led the way. Quay Walker, returning from the concussion injury, had 12 tackles, 7 total himself. Working down the Green Bay defense, tackles 6 apiece for Nixon, Edrin Cooper, who was the player of the week in the NFC last week defensively, and Xavier McKinney, who always seems to show up. On the Lions side, I thought Carlton Davis was very good. He also contributed 7 tackles. Brandon Joseph stepping in with 6 tackles on his own, coming in after the Brian Branch got kicked out of the game there. Alex Anzalone with 6 tackles as well. Terrion Arnold, good in spots again today, 5 tackles, 3 solo. Not much out of the return game from either team. Green Bay opened up with a decent return, but that was really it with the sloppy conditions. I think it hurt that as far as special teams goes. Brandon McManus did have the missed field goal. He was 2 of 3, had the long of 38. Jake Bates did make his lone field goal, long of 27, was 3 for 3 on his extra points. Jack Fox, who I talked about again, I thought flipped the field several times. 4 punts, 200 yards total, 60-yard long there. Green Bay had to punt twice, 84 yards total, and a 51-yard long. Let's hand out some game balls and talk about my game MVP here for Lions-Packers in Week 9. Lions win 24-14 in sloppy conditions in Lambeau. What an impressive road victory, and they take control of the NFC North. Let's start defensively. I thought Jack Campbell was really good. He's all over the field. He's a tackling machine. I think he still has work to do in pass coverage, but that's not what they love about him, and they needed him today in spots. Yes, there was some run coverage issues, but again, in the sloppy conditions with everything going on, I thought he was good. But I think ultimately my ultimate game ball on the defensive side has to go to Kirby Joseph. When you lose Brian Branch like that, it puts so much emphasis on what then Kirby Joseph is doing. I think you have a good backup in Brandon Joseph on the other side, but he's not going to fill the Brian Branch role. So then you ask a lot of Kirby, and I think he then had to move into that role and ended up being put in a position where he had to make a play where typically Brian Branch would have been. He makes the play, gets the interception, has the pick 6, which is ultimately what turns this football game in the Lions' favor. Offensively, let's give one to Jared Goff. He's been so good over the last 6 weeks. I mean, he's been good all season, but over the last 6 weeks, just historically good numbers. We'll talk about that when we get into the report card. I'll give that to you in more detail, but Jared Goff certainly gets a game ball today. My overall MVP for the Week 9 matchup, Lions versus Packers, is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He opened up the scoring with that fantastic route and touchdown catch from Jared Goff. Just really got things going, but then was just a solid presence through the remainder of the game. There's a stat that was put out there at the end of the game that those two have completed their last 30 passes. So Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown, the last 30 passes in a row, they've completed without an incompletion. That is incredible. So for me, Amon-Ra St. Brown gets my game MVP. Lions get a well-earned victory in sloppy conditions in Lambeau, 24-14 over the Packers. Lions improved to 7-1, full control over the NFC North, and have the best record in all of the NFC. Packers fall to 6-3. They are now in a tough spot in the NFC North, as probably still the best division in football, and we'll see how both teams move forward. The Lions will prepare next week. November 10th, they will face Houston. They will head to face the Texans in a fantastic Week 10 matchup. We'll have our Week 9 report card for this latest win, Lions in Lambeau over Green Bay. So come back and see me here tomorrow. We'll have that for you. We'll also have our game preview for Houston. A lot of fun things coming up. But let me know what you thought of this victory in Lambeau down below. 24-14. Lions in sloppy conditions. Brian Branch gets ejected, but they are able to overcome. What'd you think of that Kirby Joseph pick 6? Fantastic game. Fun to watch. A little slower than most other games here, but just great to see the Lions go on the road in bad conditions and really control this football game from start to finish. Make sure to hit that like button if you dig the vibe here at Johnny Gaz Sports. I love it if you consider subscribing. We're just over 2,100 now, thanks to you guys. What a ride. And if you hit the notify bell, you won't miss future videos. I have a little join button on all my videos there. If you hit that, I'll walk you through how you can become a part of the family and join as a member. Thank you guys so much for your time. More than anything, take care of yourself and your mental health. That is more important. I want to make sure you come back and see me on future videos. Thank you guys again. Have a fantastic week ahead. Go Lions.